Trump wants to be a dictator, and at one point I would have said that was a hyperbole. But his intentions are crystal clear this go around. Donald Trump is taking unprecedented steps to consolidate power in the presidency. As someone who's studied public policy, I'm extremely concerned and alarmed at what is going on in our nation. So for today's video, I'm going to break down 3 of many concerning actions that Donald Trump has taken and what you can do about it. For starters, he's trying to fire inspector generals. Inspector generals are nonpartisan civil servants whose job is to root out fraud and waste in our government. Why is he doing it? It's because he's afraid of accountability. He wants to be able to ram through his agenda with no checks or balances. And this is just one of many examples of that. However, his attack on the civil service doesn't stop there, which leads me to my second point. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are firing thousands of federal employees. Yes, they are blatantly firing civil servants, but they are also taking actions behind the scene to reclassify some civil servants, to strip them of protections and make it easier to fire them in the future. From national park rangers to those responsible for our nuclear program, Donald Trump and Elon Musk's actions have consequences that will impact not only the employees and their families, but also the broader American public. The civil service is important because they are what keeps our government going. Projects transcend administrations, like the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. That will transcend administrations. And it is the hardworking civil servants that continue to serve the American people, regardless of who is in the White House. Unlike White House staffers or congressional staffers, civil servants are intended to be immune to the ebbs and flows of politics, because their job is to serve the American people. But Trump wants to do away with them, and instead institute loyalists who are more beholden to him and his billionaire besties than the American people. These mass layoffs by the Trump-Musk administration and attempts to politicize the civil service sets a very dangerous precedent. And simply put, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are trying to create a civil service to advance their own business interests, not to serve the American people. Lastly, Donald Trump is attacking the free press. He's not only limiting access to spaces based on whether or not a news outlet uses the exact language he wants, but he's also taking over who is in the press pool and who gets access to the Oval to fly on Air Force One and travel with him. This is a very dangerous and unprecedented action by a president. The press is essential in informing the public of what is going on in our country. To be clear, the press holds accountable politicians, presidents of all political parties. Yet Trump has spent years trying to erode their credibility with baseless attacks. You can be upset with what the press writes while also recognizing the importance of a free press to a democracy. Journalists have ethical standards that require nonpartisanship, sometimes even more than Supreme Court justices. And those ethical standards afford them the opportunity to be our eyes and ears in the White House and in the halls of Congress. But with that opportunity and access also comes responsibility. The responsibility to report on what is going on, good, bad, and ugly. Donald Trump's attacks on a free press show us how afraid of dissent he is, how afraid of accountability he is. We are taking dangerous steps towards a state-controlled media, and a state-controlled media has never boded well for our democracy. But with all of these crazy things going on and all of these dangerous actions going on, we aren't helpless. As Trump is firing inspector generals, halting federal funding, he's kind of walking all over Congress. For example, under the Constitution, Congress has the power of the purse. And in everyday terms, that means Congress can tell the government how much or how little it can spend. So Trump's halting of federal funding challenges this and poses a legal question, which is working its way through the courts now and losing. But since it involves Congress, we can call our lawmakers and ask them to speak up. We can call our lawmakers and ask them to take back the power of the purse. We can call our lawmakers and tell them that we are concerned by this presidential, and when I say presidential, I mean both Elon Musk and Donald Trump, with this presidential overreach that we are experiencing. And to be clear, the issues I listed, firing inspector generals, attacking the civil service, attacking the freedom of press, these aren't partisan issues. It is a question of, do you support our Constitution and our democracy or not? And so if your lawmakers are standing up and speaking out against these dangerous, unprecedented actions, call them and thank them. But if they are being silent in this perilous moment for our nation, let's flood their phone lines. Donald Trump is trying to not only rig the economy, but rig the government to his own interests and the interests of his billionaire besties. Without a doubt, Donald Trump is taking unprecedented steps to undermine our democracy. Now more than ever, it is important for us to speak up and call out what is going on to our family, to our friends, to our neighbors, and most importantly, to our elected officials. Now is the time for action.